Welcome everyone to the all new, sort of different, but same old MXP Mutant XPerience podcast, episode 51. I know many of you have been wondering where the podcast went, and so I just needed some time to think about how I wanted to proceed moving forward. I know that there has been a lot of interest in Third Strike recently, and there are so many other players that I would love to get on record. For those of you who are new to the podcast, I started the podcast as a way to, I guess, capture the testimony of a generation of players that not a whole lot is written or documented about. And so I thought, for anyone who might be interested in discovering the FGC and the history of Third Strike, that at least they would have, testimony, firsthand accounts from the players themselves. And so I have done 50 of these so far, and this is episode 51, and I am happy to welcome on this brand new format for the Mutant XPerience podcast, MrPart2. Welcome, Part 2. What up?
Thanks for having me, man. We've been trying to set this up. I'm happy to be here, man. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time.
So I'm gonna try to resist the temptation to ask about every little thing in your room, because your room is. I've obviously done, like I said, 50 of these, and when I think back on it, I've started thinking about kind of the backgrounds of all my guests. and your background is we should have had a conversation about this before, Jose, because this is very distracting. You could have an entire series of podcasts just on the stuff in your room. I think it's definitely cool.
Yeah, it's like a I Spy kind of thing. Actually, there's so much stuff from all kinds of. Yeah, but if you see anything you like, you want to point it out, please. I'll be glad to talk about it. But it is my desk. I sit here and work here. I do a lot of my creative stuff in this area. I do draw still, so I'm surrounded by all this stuff that I'd like. It makes me happy, from records to figures, toys, posters, Doom, Third Strike. It's my happy place. It really is.
Your room is just filled with Easter eggs. Like I just all of a sudden I just saw that Misfits thing in the bookshelf. I don't know what that is. What is that? A book, or what is that?
It's actually an action figure of the Fiend.
What?
No joke. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I have those top displays for like some of my favorite albums. There's Prince here. You can't see it because of the angle. There's Motion City soundtrack here. This is Misfits, of course. And then on the other end here, you can't see that at all. That's Dilla, Jay Dilla. And I got an action figure of him in there too as well. So yeah, a lot of little knickknacks, a lot of figures. Oh my God, it's that stuff. Oh yeah, and in that Misfits thing, I'll bring it up too. Some Riot Fest stuff I got when we saw them in 2016. Oh my God, 2016, yeah. I believe it was 20. I'm sorry, the year's just gone by so fast. I forget what year it is now.
But aren't they playing again
They are back. I think they are like
next year?
trying to. Yeah, yeah. They're definitely on for Riot Fest next year. This year.
Or this year?
Oh my God, this year. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Along with My Chemical Romance and TBD. But it's gonna be crazy. I will, depending how everything goes, I will be there. So we'll see.
So again, the danger of us getting sidetracked on this Third Strike podcast is quite high, Jose. So before we go deeper into all these Easter eggs in your room, since it's sort of fresh in everyone's memory, I thought we could talk a little bit about Frosty. I know Frosty happened last weekend, and you were there. And you finished I believe 7th at Frosty.
Yep.
And so, first and foremost, congratulations for making another top eight. I know that you've been a long time fixture in the Chicago Third Strike scene, and so kudos to you and all the other Chicago regulars for coming out to Frosty. Shout outs to the Mikes and the entire Frosty staff for putting on what it appears to have been a very chill and safe event. I unfortunately was able to attend, but Katie Alpha and Vankabot held it down, and so shout outs to them, and shout outs to the Chicago scene and the Midwest scene for always coming out for Third Strike. Jose, I know we're gonna talk a lot about sort of what draws you about this game, but just what were your impressions of Frosty, and how was that experience for you?
Well, it was my first in-person tournament since the pandemic started. We had Frosty 2020 right before the pandemic started, and yeah, I didn't know when I was going to return to in-person tournaments. I was very nervous. Um, but when I saw that they were doing it, there was a Jazzy event coming back, and Jazzy was coming back. I was like, I had to be there. Um, and it was great. I might oversell it a little bit, but it was a really great, safe, fun experience. Everyone I talked to, um, and got to just exchange some time with was just like so awesome. It was just great to be around people who just share that same love or just want to, that passion for the game that a lot of people wanting to grow. I talked to. I can throw shout outs to them later, but it was like I said, safety was my main concern, which it was definitely very safe. Uh, there were staff on site watching for masks, making sure that people had those wristbands, that they were vaccinated, and that they were tested beforehand. And it was a bit much, and even I thought it was at first. And that kind of like puts a whole set of nerves going into a tournament. I mean, you already got nerves about performing, um, but just being there and being able to get in, testing all that stuff, it's a whole different, issue. But once you got past that, when I was able to, I was just like, all right, I'm in this thing, and I was just ready, um, ready as I've ever been. Um, Chicago showed out. Big shout outs to Al, of course. Amazing play. And definitely tough gnarl, Jose. He I'm so I can't stress this enough. I'm so impressed with that kid. I call him a kid because he's just a little bit younger than me, but he just continues to like level up. Um, and just wants to grow. Like he has cabs at his house we play at, and we get the luxury of practicing with him. um, but he's just continuing to always show growth at every tournament like we're at together, and I'm just like amazed. Like in the time he's been playing for some time now. He just always comes and he's just like always gets in the zone, always focused. And then I think his results are continuing to show that. And I'm just like I said, just really proud of the guy. I want to give all the praises to him. So, um, but yeah, Frosty's top eight, another top eight. I would be lying if I said I wasn't happy with that. But I am. Uh, always happy to make a top eight. In a tournament with that many people, of course, there were some disqualifications, some dropouts. Excuse me. But it was. I had to play Friday and then play Saturday. So on top of that, I knew like I was gonna have to, play 2 days in a row, and that brings on like a different, like you gotta get rest, eat, you know, get eat sustenance, and not the tournament diet if you can avoid it. But it was uh, it was a long 2 days. But I wish I could do it again next weekend because just the energy there, the people there, support the game. It was great. You could just walk in the room and feel it. Like people were just about it, and there were people sitting with people, like learning stuff on the fly and just showing them like kind of coaching them a little bit, not during tournaments, but just like because we had 4 head-to-head setups, which was amazing. Never seen anything like that in my life playing this game. Plenty of time for casuals, to get matches, uh, first to fives, whatever you want. Plenty of room for that. It was great.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks for competing in the events you have competed, and again, thank you for accepting our invitation to the season 2 finale. I definitely want to talk about that event and your experience at the season 2 finale. But I kind of want you to take us back, Jose.
Oh yeah,
Take us back through time. Uh,
let's
tell me a
let's
little
do it.
bit about tell me a little bit about the history of MrPart2. Was there a and so yeah, like a little bit sort of where you grew up, how you got into video games.
Well, I hope you got some time. That's what I'll say. So, first thing I've always got this question, so I'll get it out the way now. Where did the name Part 2 come from? So, is there a Part 1, a Part 3? Is Part 1 my brother, similar to their part numbers and other usernames and like shooters? People are like 1 and 2, but those are usually twins. No, Part 2 actually was my graffiti name in high school, throughout college. I used to be heavy into graffiti, legal graffiti and not so legal graffiti. Um, and it was actually given to me by my good friend Alex, who was and is an amazing artist. He's making a living off his art right now. Shouts to Alex Cruz. Known him since I was in kindergarten. Then throughout high school and now as adults, families and everything, we're still friends. Great guy, amazing artist, super talented. Um, I still draw, paint. I'm big into handwriting. Um, but that's where the name originated from. It's Part 2. A lot of graffiti artists and their names with numbers are usually 1. I just went with a 2 because it's a favorite number of mine. Um, duality, all that stuff. Uh, I could go on and further, further, but yeah, I love the number 2. Always did it. I'm also a junior. My dad has the same name, so I'm the second to kind of fall into place. Um, so video games for me, that's oof. Where does it start? Ugh. Um, Start of course at home. Um, Actually, I grew up in a little Hispanic town uh, with lots of laundromats and taco spots. And what do they usually have? An arcade cabinet of some sort. A lot of times it's a fighting game. If it's not SNK, it's Street Fighter, usually. And in my town, we actually had a pool hall just 2 blocks away. My mom told me as a kid I could never go to this pool hall. I actually believe it was called Joe's because that's where the ruffians hang out. And I have no business being there, which is probably true. So one day I was with my older cousin, Marco, and he said, "We're gonna go stop at the arcade." In my mind, I'm like thinking I can hear my mom's voice saying, "You can't go to this arcade." But I'm with my cousin, right? It'll be great. I'll be fine. And I went in there, and they had so many arcade cabinets, and I was mesmerized. Um, and he went to go talk to his friends playing pool. He said, "Here's some quarters. Go play some." And I'll tell you a good story actually that happened that day. Um, I ended up playing, I believe it was Double Dragon 2, right? And there was a guy already playing it. I asked him if I could play 2 with him. He said, "Sure." We played, and I dumped all my quarters in this. He kept playing. We were, teaming up to beat the game. Well, we beat the game, but what happens is at the end of the game, when you beat the final boss, you have to fight each other because there can only be one. And I remember it took place like it was like a bridge or like a stage you could fall off on. That's how long it was, and I haven't revisited it, and I should. I really should to give more credibility to the story. I actually walked off the bridge and killed myself. I didn't even get a chance to fight. Right? I fell off. I lost. Sure, we beat the game, but I fell off the bridge and I died. And I was heartbroken like instantly. I like hung my head. I walked away. I didn't even watch what happened on the screen. I was like, what happened? I remember I walked up to my cousin. I just stood next to him. He's like, you okay? You all right? And he was worried. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm fine. I was upset. Now I was probably like 7 years old, 8 years old, just crushed, you know? And he got me out of there. And I told him what happened. And he's like, that's it? And he's like, you'll be all right. I'll take you there. We'll do it again sometime. And I was like, nah, it's okay. Not a big deal. But, um, and we'll get into it further. After that, I think that's when the competitiveness, like in me, like was started to to build. After that, I got into sports, um, and more like competitive video games. I had a younger brother, as we know, Robert, only 2 years younger than me. And when you have a younger brother in general, it's usually competitive to a certain degree. But it was that moment where I was just like thinking, like, I don't want to feel like that again. You know, I want to at least have a fighting chance to to do something. Because in that moment I didn't do anything. I'm just like, ugh. So then that same cousin and his brother, my cousin Marco Miguel, they got a Super Nintendo and they got Street Fighter. I would go to their house and watch them play Street Fighter 2 on pads. I was just mesmerized by this game. Like, this is the game I want to play. You can fight people, just keep going back and forth. This is gonna be great. I got a brother, I could play with him all day. My mom would never buy me a Super Nintendo. Too much money. So I would sh- gather up any quarters. And like I said, in my neighborhood, we had like arcade cabs and we knew where they were, where you can go to play. Uh, stop by those places, see if anyone was playing, just peek in the window. If there was no one there, maybe I'd go play against the computer a little bit, depending on how much money you had, you know? Um, but if there's no one there, go to the next spot. You can keep going. There was a couple spots that usually had a good amount of people to play, and you would hang out there even just to watch, people play against each other. There's a lot of information there. Um, but it kind of ties into me just wanting to play against somebody. Even if I lost, it cost me a quarter, a lot of money. Some of those arcades charge you 50 cents. And it's like, how? Who's got that kind of money? I'm a kid just running around with a pocket full of quarters and gathered around the house or chores or whatever. And I would run around to these spots and just look for people to play against because that's kind of how hungry I was. Um, just hungry to play against anybody because I didn't have it at home. My cousins had it, but I couldn't just go to my cousin's house all the time. Just like, I want to play your Super Nintendo. But that's what I had to do. I couldn't go to that arcade. I couldn't go to Joe's, the pool hall we talked about in that story because my mom saw me there. Forget it. Because our neighborhood was small and she knew people in the neighborhood. They saw me. I was like, "Oh, I saw your little boy at the arcade there." My mom, mm-mm. No, Mama doesn't play. Mama don't. No, she'd find out. I'd be grounded forever. Never play Street Fighter again. Who knows? But that's uh, that's kind of like my intro to where like my definitely my fighting game like love passion started. Because after that, it was just like anytime we knew where a cabinet was, um, me and my brother especially, we would go and see if there were people playing there. And we'd come back to that spot and see if there were people playing there. Um, And then we found like a couple spots, like our local bowling alley or not so local bowling alley, which is like a couple miles away. We had bikes. We had to ride our bikes there. And they always got the new cabinets, the new fighting games, all the new stuff. It's uh, where I got to play Second Impact for the first time, and then Third Strike for the first time. And it was funny because that time frame between Second Impact and Third Strike was so small. Like I saw this game, I was like, "Oh, this is new, awesome!" And Third Strike showed up like a week later. I was like, "When did what? When did this happen?" I didn't know. All we had to go on were like magazines. There was like really no internet. I couldn't look it up online and see when the next one was dropping. It just showed up, and you were just happy to have it there in front of you. Um, and that's when I saw it, the way the sprites looked, and I was like, "This game is amazing." It was. I didn't even know about like parrying. I didn't know what that was when I first played the game. That was a learning process. It wasn't until like we had a Dreamcast in high school, or my best friend Hugo at the time, and Alex, the guy I mentioned in the story, who gave my graffiti name, hang out in their basement. We played Third Strike on Dreamcast pads, and that's when we found out what parrying was. We're like, "What is this? What?" Blown away. Like you could nullify an attack, and we would play it. I loved it. I was actually pretty good on a pad. I was a pad player when I first started.
Hmm.
Even when I was competitive, I had to, get out of that.
Dreamcast pad.
uh,
Wow. What are your thoughts on the Dreamcast pad? Um, you know what? The Dreamcast pad was sort of strange for me, Jose, because like for certain games, it was like the most godlike pad, right?
oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Unfortunately, at least for me, one of those games was not fighting games. but
Do
but then
tell,
there's
please.
but then there are some people who are doing like infinites, in Marvel too with
Oh my
Dreamcast
God,
pad.
yes.
So the pad is just so, and I have like little hands, so admittedly, and so the Dreamcast pad was a struggle for me. Um, but real quickly, and
Sure.
uh, where did you grow up again? Not sure if you mentioned that, but
I apologize. So I am from a small suburb called Merrill's Park, oop, just minutes away from Chicago,
okay.
like
So
10, 15
Chicago,
minutes.
so Chicago, basically born, bred, and raised,
Mm-hmm. Oh
and,
yeah.
and still
Yeah,
in
we're always in the
Chicago.
city.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right,
That's where all that story, all my intro to fighting games, the little Mexican town I grew up in.
yeah.
That's where it all happened.
So
Hmm.
so like I grew up in Southern California, and we are pretty comparable in age. And when I was growing up, I was fortunate enough to be in an area that had just a lot of arcades, surrounded by video games and video game culture. But what was it like in the Midwest? So like you probably grew up what around the '90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like were there arcades? Because you were saying like most of the time you would play a lot of these games in stores or bowling alleys. And that was similar
Mm-hmm.
to Southern California too. But I was curious, like what about like arcades? Like were there like what were some of the I know we're gonna talk about Logan's a little bit later, but like what were some arcades that you remember from back in the day that sort of stick out in the back of your mind? Like as kind of
So
like when you think about like sort of like you were saying your journey as a Street Fighter competitor. Like what were some of the arcades that kind of stick out to you?
so one of the big arcades that stick out to me was this it's almost like a Chuck E. Cheese-esque kind of place called Enchanted Castle. Actually not too far from where the Frosties venue was over in Lombard. Um it's like for kids of all ages, and it's been around since I was a little kid. My dad used to take us there because my parents split up at a young age. So my dad got us on the weekends, and dad would take us anywhere we wanted to go. Where do you guys want to go? You want to go to the movies? You want to go to the arcade? Let's go have some fun. Well, we want to go to Shannon Castle. We want to go to the arcade. We want to go play some games. Especially me and my brother, my sister as well. And he would always take us there and just dump money in our pockets. And they would always have like all the new Capcom games, and it was just full of older people, of course. Um, I love that place. It's still there today. I haven't been there in quite a long time. I think they're more like of a redemption base kind of,
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay afloat. They have other attractions as well, but that's definitely number one. Number two, like there's a place called Fun Zone, not too far away from where we grew up. My dad would take us there as well. It's where I first played like the Vampire Savior series, and of course other Street Fighter games. A lot of competitive players there. Uh, I was too young to know who was who at the time, but we would go there. I would even ride my bike there if I had to. Another place called Super Bowl. It's a bowling alley. They have a dedicated room for an arcade, and that was my spot. We used to go there a lot, and it was a bike ride and a half. But my brother, I would always ask him, like, "You want to go to Super Bowl?" And we're just like, "Oh, it's far. It's so far." Yeah, maybe tomorrow. All right, we're going tomorrow for sure. And we'd go. We knew people would always be there. It was always bumping, always people willing to play. And we'd lock our bikes up outside. And I'll never forget one moment there. We had our bikes locked up. We were playing games. Kids come running downstairs because they had to go down an escalator. And it was like in a lower level, the bowling alley itself in the arcade. And they ran into the room. They're like, "Hey, somebody's bikes outside are getting stolen." And we're like, "Wait, what? Bikes? What?" He's like, "Yeah, man, they're stealing the bikes right now." Get off the game, run to go see. Bikes aren't stolen. Our bikes are right there. Bikes are there. Come back downstairs. They're playing our fucking games, man. Oh my god. Oh
That's what you were
yeah.
tight about. That's what you were tight about, right? Like not even tight that like the bikes were stolen. You came back and someone was on your games, right? And
Yeah.
there was nothing you could do about it because back in those days you walked away from the cab.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
it's not like you're gonna get your game back.
You
So
know.
it's funny because it sounds like you were salty about that, not the fact that your bikes might have been stolen.
Well, like I said, it's like quarters were hard to come by. I was just a kid, but I was happy my bike didn't get stolen, and I was like, wait, the bikes are getting stolen. Why would they do that? I went downstairs and I was like, I mean, older now, you could look back on it and be like, these kids were onto something, So, and they wanted to play, whether they didn't have the money or whatnot. They earned it in a way, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I got to give it up to them. So, but Super Bowl, yeah. And then we would go, my dad, back to the arcades that other stick out, Aladdin's Castle. My dad would travel for us, like to take us to different arcades, just get a different experience. Um, those were like in malls and such, here and there. And my dad liked video games too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that because I was gonna
Yeah,
ask, like, is that like, was that something that like you kind of discovered on your own, and then you and your brother kind of went to your dad and said, "Hey, take us to these places," or was this like something that like your dad was already into, and then he just kind of like how you're kind of, sort of spreading your love of video games to your kids? Like was that is that how it went? Like your dad was into gaming and stuff as well?
well, he wasn't necessarily into playing video
Uh huh.
games. Like he would play with us,
Uh
like
huh.
video games and stuff, but he wasn't like a diehard. Like he wasn't playing them at home, but he was, like I said, he would have no problem just taking us to those places, hanging out with us, watching us play games, playing with us if there's no one, if there's multiplayer game, whatever. He's like, "Oh, you want to play? I'll play you. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll play." Just him being there to you know watch and just if I had no one to play against, even if we're playing like the big X-Men cab, how many is that, an 8-player cab or whatever it is, um,
Six
we'd be
player,
playing
I
that on
think.
the,
6 player, I think.
yeah, 6. There you go.
Oh,
Sorry,
wishful thinking. It would be sick, right? On some Killer Queen stuff, like
my
8 player
lord.
cab. I think it was 6. I think the maximum was 6.
It's just so big, and I haven't played it in so long. And Logan Arcade has one fully functional. It's a beautiful thing to see. Even just I walk by it all the time, and I just look at it, and you think I'd know how many people could play on
Which
it.
character do
I
you
just
which character do you rock in that?
Nightcrawler specifically. I
Nightcrawler. I
remember
like.
just yeah.
I'm so lazy. I'm so lazy, Jose. I rock the Colossus. I just
Oh.
I just walk around and I just go.
I respect him, man. You gotta win. So my dad was supportive in that sense. You know, he saw I like to think, and I still have a good relationship with my father today. Fortunately, it wasn't always that easy, but he was there to support me playing these games. And I was too young to see it, of course, but now as an adult, of course, I look back on it and just like, getting in the car to drive to these places just to see like his kids play these games and make sure they're having a good time for the time we spend with. Like I wouldn't give that up for anything in the world, you know. So similar to what you said, I definitely want to pass it on to my kids. You know, they see me playing games and they want to play. They have Nintendo Switches now. They love, having fun playing those games as well. So I'm doing everything I can to nurture the the happiness that it brings out of them. My little guy is already showing that he's competitive, and I love that. I do. He doesn't like losing. You know, he doesn't. He gets frustrated, but he keeps at it, and I see that a lot of that in myself, especially with the story I spoke about earlier. Like he doesn't like losing, and it just turn you into a different person. But you just keep trying. So my dad, he was great and supported me in those times, and just making sure his kids were having a good time. And even if it was dumping X amount of dollars in the arcade, you know, um, he'd be happy to do it. And I'm sure if I called him up today, like, Dad, let's go play some video games. You want to go to arcade? He'd probably be down. Hopefully. I mean, he knows I'm still out here playing video games. He's like, you play video games still? You compete in Street Fighter tournaments? Dad, I got 7th last week. He's like, all right. So he could take some credit for being the support. He's like, it's because your old man took you to those arcades as a kid to play in those environments, and I won't divulge or go too far. This is being in that environment where it's competitive. You're playing against a bunch of strangers, and I'm a kid at the time, but playing against grown men.
No, go
Who you
ahead.
just like,
Jose, divulge all the way. This is the sort of stuff that I want to hear, right? Like, what were your like what exactly were those raw experiences at the arcade? I mean, obviously not gonna push you, but I'm sure we've all experienced certain things, at the arcade. But your brother, Silent Impact.
My biggest supporter, man.
Younger brother.
Yep. Yeah, we're real close in age.
So like about a year, a couple years.
2 years.
2 years. Okay. You were talking about how like sort of how you became competitive, started even playing sports. Like, what sports did you play?
Baseball, a lot of basketball, of course.
Yeah.
Mostly, and then we played tennis. My mom put us in tennis lessons as a kid. I love the sport. My old legs and knees can't handle it today.
Yeah.
But I still love it. Still love to follow it as much as possible. But
now, who's more competitive, you or your brother? Like if the two if the two of you were to show up at the Jazzy Circuit finale, and we were to put a stretch goal, brother versus brother, mono versus mono, part 2 versus Silent Impact. Who
honestly,
out of the two of you, who's really about it, Jose?
I would say he is.
Okay.
I keep using that word hungry, but my brother, he's the younger brother, of course.
Yeah.
And he's got an older brother, me, of course. And like even at a young age, like he's always had something to prove. He was a smaller guy. He was, I was just a little bit taller than him. Oh, in anything we did, not even video game related, he would always like, I could beat you in a foot race, which he could as a kid. He wanted to be the fastest kid on the block and the next block and then in the town. I couldn't beat him, that's for sure. He wanted to be the fastest kid on the bike. He could beat me on a bike. he, he- and this goes back to, like I said, when we were little. He's definitely the more competitive, more hungry, takes losses a little hard type of guy. But I give it to him. Like he's just like he's like a boxer. You put him down, he's gonna get back up. He just he doesn't like losing, of course, but he's always taking the time to make sure he's like doing the right thing, especially when it comes to third strike, just applying himself. And even like, I've always had him to play against, and I would beat the crap out of him. No joke. When we were playing, and I was playing a lot more years ago, and he would not want to play against against me. And I'm like, you're not gonna get better if you don't, and I'm your best resource. And I had to kind of plug that into his head. You know, it's kind of like what you said, and we had a conversation before. Is steel sharpens steel. You want to be the better player. You got to play against better players. Just keep going, keep going. And I'll throw in a short story. Is like I used to have Adam Dirtmaster come to my house when like years ago, and we play for hours, and he beat the crap out of me. Um, I owe a lot to my growth as a player to him specifically, as well as, of course, the Chicago community. But Adam definitely beat me into it and still beats me up. uh, but I was passing that on to my brother because I experienced that. A lot of losing, still a lot of growth as long as you take that and just keep pushing forward with it. And he's been doing that lately a lot more. I think we've grown a lot as people, as humans, of course. And him, I'm proud of the little guy. Like I say, little guy because he's my little brother. Other people probably can't call him little guy. He wouldn't he wouldn't like that. But he's grown a lot, and I'm playing against him now. It could go either way. He gets scary. Surprises me all the time, and I'm proud of the guy. That's it. Would I like to see him like show up to this thing and like if there was a stretch goal, brother versus brother? Yeah, I'd be worried, a little worried. I'd like to see him beat me.
I'm not trying to start
That would
anything. It's just I think it would be pretty hype.
that would be funny though. It would be great.
You
But
know
yeah.
me, Jose. I am a big pro wrestling fan, and so
Oh yeah,
when
love a good story.
I think about all those historic pro wrestling feuds, the brother versus brother storyline is one of those. It's as old as the Bible.
Oh yeah. No, me and my brother were wrestling fans too when we were younger at that age as
Uh,
well. Love the Hart brothers. I mean,
yeah.
oh god. Yeah, we were heavy into the.
Owen was way cooler than Brett.
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
There's no.
I
With
mean,
all due
is
respect
is
to Brett.
Brett better than Owen? Yeah, but Owen's cooler than Brett.
No
Definitely the
question.
cooler wrestler. Even when he was dressed in that goofy blue blazer gimmick, it was still like he knew how to make things work.
I think it's bigger too, actually, right?
Yeah. Probably the one thing that he could not make work was when he started coming out with those danger tights. Remember when he was
Oh.
when the attitude area and he was dressed up as a road sign, basically? That was not a good look. But anyway, R.I.P. to Owen Hart, and yeah, love to see more of a Silent Impact in these offline third strike tournaments. So, speaking of tournaments, part two, tell me a little bit about sort of that period when you started to like compete in actual tournaments. Like, when did you know that like an FGC actually existed out in out in where you are in Chicago, and then obviously that there were other places that did the same things you did? Because when we were coming up, right, Jose, we didn't have
hmm
the luxury of social media and stuff like that, so a lot of it was just kind of organic. But there was just this I don't know, just for me, this excitement to like discover, oh wow, like those people out there play third strike. That's pretty nuts. But like, when did you
hmm
start to kind of like, hey, like, when did you how did you discover that there was such a thing as a FGC?
So, a lot like other people, I don't want to say my story's not too similar to others, but after it was and a lot of people older people, I think, go by their SRK sign up date, right? That was like the thing. People would just say like, "Oh, I've been around since this year." So, 2005, when I actively sought out to be or play against better players within my area. It was around the time like Anniversary Collection. Which Anniversary Collection was that? I apologize. That PS2 was out, so people were playing the game more. I remember they had it like on at my local GameStop, and the guy that worked there, now a good friend of mine, because of this moment, Steven, he was like, "Yeah, you play Third Strike?" He's like, I'm like, "Yeah, I play a little bit. I used to, whatever." "Oh, we should hang out and play." You know, I was like, All right, let's do that. We could play here, I guess." He's like, "No, man. I mean, like, you come over, I come hang out with you. We could play the game." I was like, "Cool. All right, I'm down. Sure." And we played, and I would on a pad, still playing a pad, actually a PS2 pad. I didn't have an arcade stick. And we would go back and forth, and I would like win a little more than often than he did. And he's like, "I don't know how you could parry so much stuff." I was like, "I don't know either. I'm just kind of comfortable doing it." And then he kind of put it in my head. It's like, "Man, we want to get better at this game. I got to seek out other players," similar to how I befriended him. I wasn't expecting everyone to be as welcoming and as nice as he is and still is to this day. Um, but I was like, maybe it's time we see. I know there's got to. We're in a major city. You know, there's got to be people out here playing this game and that are good at it. Started like so. First thing I did was sign up for SRK for Shoryuken. Looked for my region and made those like opening new posts. Like, "Hey, I'm in this area. Anyone want to play?" And everyone was nobody. I remember my first two posts. Nobody really responded. I'm like, damn, okay. Well, they're just kind of looking over me. They're thinking what I'm thinking. They're just this scrub just got an Anniversary Collection. He just wants to play. Not worth the time. These guys are serious. And then one guy, actually, Geronimo, he responded because we have our location in our bio, and he lived in a town over. And he's like, "Yeah, man, if you want to play, you got to go to Nickel City." Nickel City. Never been to Nickel City. Looked it up. Saw it's like an hour north of me. It's like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, we go on Fridays usually." Okay, I'll go. But then I remember asking him. I was like, "But you live close. Would you mind? Would you want to hang out and play sometime?" He's like, and even he did the same thing. He's like, "Nah, man, you're better off going to Nichols, and then you know, we could play there." All right, cool. So I go to Nichols. This is a great story, and I meet Geronimo, and I find out he's actually a guy I worked with at my previous job at the Allstate Arena as a vendor. Didn't say much of a word. I got beat up X amount of times in a row. Said, "Good games, man. Thank you." And then I left. And I was like, get in the car, and I'm just like shaking my head, like, what did I do? You know, back to the drawing board. And I just kept coming back, man. And started like playing against the better players. And I wasn't there, and not that they weren't friendly, but I wasn't there to like expect everyone to be as friendly as I've been fortunate with like Geronimo and Steven. Um, yeah, I just knew I had to come and like prove myself, like that I was not just like a, you know, somebody just saw the Evo moment, 37, and just was like here to play and try to parry some stuff. Like, no, I had to put in a lot of work and a lot of free time and practicing this game and showing up, and I kept doing it, and then you know, then at the time it was it Midwest Championships? Those tournaments were being run in Nickel City. I would enter those. I think I can't remember the year because it's been so long, but I got like a ninth place finish in one of those a long time ago. Yeah, I apologize. I blank on that year. It's been so long, and I just kept entering events because in my mind, again, I had to tell them, like, and show, like, the community that, like, I want to enter tournaments. I want to play competitively. I want to get better. I don't want to just show up and play casuals on Friday, get beat up for 4 hours and go home. So I kept doing it. And then, similar to the story I touched on earlier, is like I kind of befriended Adam, as we all know, as Dirt Master. And then I posed the same proposition for him, like, hey man, you want to get together and play? He's like, sure. And he would come over to my house. I lived at home with my mom. And I had the whole basement though. It was great. And we'd play. I'd pick him up from the train, probably around 7:30 in the evening. And we would play probably till 5, 6 in the morning, literally 11, 12 hours straight. I can't do this now. I'm too old. But we play for hours on end. I'd get a few wins here and there, and he would just beat me up with like the whole cast. Adam is very versatile at the game. And I was just so impressed with his play. And I'm like, again, I'm still getting beat up and just taking it all in. And we would do this maybe like whenever he was available, like on the weekends, Friday into Saturday morning, go get breakfast, drop back off the train. See you soon, man. Um, and that's and it just kind of, I would say after that, it just kind of grew from there. They knew this, like they knew that I wasn't just, like I said, like a fly on the wall, just hanging out to play casuals or just to like not learn or grow. I had to show them, and I feel like over time I did, because there's a lot of players again like Adam, who kind of invested their time in me, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, because especially him and just like the community back then, Juicy G, George Fed, Bob Washington, Cracker J, Domingo.
Like, how would you describe like what makes the Chicago FGC the Chicago FGC?
I would say mostly because Chicago is kind of and has always been a tough city, just in general. It's called the second city not because it's second to another. It's because it got burnt down and built again. So Chicago people are tough, and that kind of similar to when I would show up to these events and not expect anyone to be friendly or not even cordial. I wasn't expecting that energy. Like I said, as a kid, I was like in that arcade era where you played, you got beat up, and there was really no remorse. Like you don't always shake hands, say good games or whatever. You just walked away and just hung your head. But what makes this, like, especially now, this third strike community here in Chicago is like, I want to say it's like an eclectic group of players. Like we're all different in so many ways. But we're all like, I mean, besides the game bringing us together, I've come to and befriend these guys and just understand like how much they love the game and how much fun they have playing the game. Again, we go to Logan's every Friday just to play the game, and like that's we take it serious, of course. We don't no one wants to lose, but we're there having a good time.
I want to ask you a question that I asked Adam during our podcast. So let's say you were in charge of forming the Logan Arcade Cooperation Cup team. All right, and we could even do like an NWO thing, right? Like a NWO Hollywood and NWO, Wolfpack or whatever. But like anyway, Co-op Cup Chicago team. What is it? Like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it both ways. All right, Jose. If there just had to be one team, just one team, 5 players, who is on that team to represent Logan Arcade in Chicago?
Definitely as of today, the first person, of course, that comes to mind is Adam.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Master.
I was almost a little bit worried, right? What was your right? I was a little bit worried what you were gonna answer the first. Okay. Just. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and
Adam,
this is like a. Yeah, it's not a.
By the way, Adam, aka Dirt Master, former Jazzy Circuit finalist, qualified season 1 at Michigan Masters. That was a great tournament.
It was.
So okay, Dirt Master. All right.
Okay, so, and I'm gonna get some. I don't know if this is gonna cause any controversy. I don't think so because there was a little talk about it, little not spiciness.
Hmm.
But I would have to say Al
Okay.
because we claim him now.
I mean,
I mean, I,
I don't have a, I don't have a
I
stake
don't know
in
what.
this. This is between you and
Yeah,
Austin.
yeah. I don't know what the statute of limitations is about claiming a player now that outside of your region, but I gotta go with Al, of course. I mean, he's been here for years now, and he's just gotten better. I mean, I was there to witness like when he first came, and I was like, "Who's this guy? Plays Chun? Ugh, why? You know, as always, most people, but we need a Chun. We definitely, and we're so grateful to have him and have that experience. But now, I would say we could claim Al, right? I think.
Okay, so
I'm
Al, right? So we have
yeah.
Adam, we have Al, we have 3 more slots.
Hmm.
I can tell this is really hard for you, Jose. This is
It
really
is.
difficult.
It's hard in the sense that I mean we're like I mean our community, our scene is, it's competitive, but it's also like we talk to each other. We're friendly, we're cordial,
Uh-huh.
respectful, as as humans, as we should be.
Uh-huh.
But we're all still competitors,
Uh-huh. And
and I don't
also,
want to.
another
I don't.
thing we have to consider too, Jose, it's
Mhm.
like probably some people would argue, yeah, just get the 5 best players.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
some scenes don't have the luxury of that, right? Because maybe there's
Hmm.
repeat characters or mains.
Oh yeah.
Um, I remember I had a podcast with Paul Lee, and he was talking about how he won the SBO, but because Vi wanted to use Ken, he
I remember
basically
that
had to
story.
learn Chun.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember that story.
yeah,
It's crazy.
and also like just matchups, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, maybe you have a player that is just an amazing character specialist. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but again, it's so when you put together a Chicago team, there definitely is like the only criteria does not have to be like the 5 best players, right? It could definitely also
Mm-hmm.
be like, you played sports, right? You follow
Yeah.
basketball and baseball, team chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
Oh,
So
very.
so I think, but I think Adam and Al are shoe-ins, and I think that is the non-controversial 2 picks. But this is where it gets interesting, right?
Right. Right. Um. Well, I've been speaking his praises this whole episode. But Jose, I like Jose
Hmm.
because he's a Elena specialist. That matchup. I don't want to say people don't have that experience, but he's definitely using that character to her full potential, and he's continuing to show us that. And I definitely want Jose on the team, and just to to get, like I said, keep things spicy and just mix things up, because I feel like a good Elena could throw anyone off. I mean, he gave, uh, he got 5th place when he lost to Al. He gave Al like a little bit of a run for his money. He took a game off of him. Didn't make it easy by any stretch, you know, and he he showed out, and I've seen him be able to thrive in those situations in that tournament setting. Continues to do it, man. If we went to Japan and did it, I'd imagine he'd still be, he'd be no different, and that's why I got to put Jose on for sure.
Okay, so far we have Adam, Al, Tough Gnarl, 2
Hmm.
slots left.
Hmm. Well, this is a thinker, because again we're forming a team, and huh, like I said, we've had our fair share of transplants come through. Um, I want to speak
Well,
highly of.
well, well, Jose, you talk about like forming a team. Who is Adam going to use? Is Adam going to
See,
use
that's the thing.
Elena too? Like, are you going to have
See
two
that?
Elenas in a Chicago team? Like, I mean, uh, all of you are nice, but like, this is this like talk about you know tough.
Well,
You know,
yeah, yeah. And one thing I will say is that like,
I mean,
and
Adam
while
does not have to
Adam's
use Elena, right? Adam could
exactly
use Makoto, who
right,
is, I
and he,
mean, really his main, right? Like, that kind of is
mhm,
really his main.
yeah, I've seen him like lock into characters, and I feel like if he focused, and he could be, like I said, he's just got so much experience of the game. He could, he was at Logan beating up everybody with like Hugh on Friday, so he could do it. I think if he like locked into a character and knew
Mhm.
like focused in, and of course it wouldn't be Elena because we'd have Jose. Um,
I mean, you could have two
it would
Elenas, but
you could,
I don't know
and
if
that
that
and
might be the best approach.
I'd have to. You know what? I would say I have full confidence in Adam to pick a character he'd feel comfortable and more than competitive with, because I feel like he would again put in the work and just practice that character and just be like, I'm ready, man. Let's lock in. Let's do it.
And that's where
Because he's done it
the
before.
importance of Al comes into play, right?
Hmm.
Because you have basically that anchor. And when I mean anchor, I don't mean that he's going to go last, but this,
Hmm.
just knowing that you have a super solid, smart Chun on your team, then you can kind of be a little bit more, creative in the choices you make in terms of team order and going up against different teams. But just having that super solid Chun, right?
Hmm.
Then hey, maybe two Elenas is not so bad, along with one Chun. But again, right? Two more slots. Who are we giving it to?
Right. I'm really racking my head on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm. Because again, it's just I want that diversity. I want that spicy, like that team chemistry. Like I want all of that. I would say, and I don't know if I could say it now, and I don't think we can claim him anymore because this particular player, nobody knows where he is. I know where he is, and some people do. Uh, I would
Well,
love to have.
let's not get anyone doxxed. So let's.
No, 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 no. I'm not, no, no, no. Because I want to respect his privacy, and such. But I also want to give him credit too because, and I'll say, Dr. Pancake, Quentin, he came at a time to help like our third strike, like to bring it back up. Like when he found, or people found that Logan Arcade had a third strike cabinet, like he was there trying to like grow whatever players were interested. And I'll be honest with you, at the time I had little to some to very little interest in playing again, just because I was doing other things, life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um, and he was posting like in the Chicago fighting game community. He would come to this bring a setup to this place, Game Pazzo, and they would be playing there. And I was still playing Street Fighter 4 a little bit, other stuff. I was like, oh, they're playing Third Strike. I was like, all right, cool. And he was definitely trying to like grow the community and or build it back up or just build something. And he would bring a setup, come to Logan, and his Makoto was just growing like exponentially. Like I saw it, and he always gave me a run for my money. I have no problem saying that, and I was like, man, this new guy, Makoto, like I shouldn't be losing to him. At least that's what I thought. But man, did he prove me wrong several times? Really humbled me. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and I guess because of that, um, and because again, he's not with us at this time, here in Chicago. I would love to claim him on the Chicago like third strike team because we know what a beast and what a monster he is. Um, with that Makoto, I love seeing him play. A lot of people have their gripes about Makoto, um, but like when he's playing, like every button has a purpose. You know, I've sometimes even watched his matches. Um, I've watched a couple of his replays. See how he's doing and such. Fight Kid gives you that luxury. It's crazy. And he's just everything like his movement, everything. I love it. I love seeing him play. And again, I want to give him a big shout out to him because he again helped like revive and help build up the third strike, build back the third strike, build it back up. Sorry, I am stumbling here. Build the third strike scene here in Chicago back up, and we couldn't have done it without his support. You know, I don't know if he wasn't around or didn't move here. Like, I don't know where we'd be. I don't know if we'd be playing at all. You know, and I don't know if Logan would be supporting us. Logan Arcade would be gave us a head-to-head setup. I would say gave us because we pushed for it. We got it, and then I mean he was there playing us side by side. But big shout outs to Quentin. You know, great player, really friendly dude. He mailed me some brownies last Christmas, man. Super nice guy. Just love talking to him. So I would say him.
What kind of brownies? No, I'm
if
just
we
kidding.
could claim him.
Just kidding.
We can.
Okay, so Quentin. Okay, so that's fine. This is shaping up to be a really strong team because you got the Chun, you got the Mac, then you have again Elena, maybe another Mac with Adam or Elena, or maybe Adam throws a curveball like you said. You know,
yeah.
Adam could just pick a character out of a fishbowl, and then I would be fine with it. You know, well, maybe not 12 or or something like that.
I mean,
what never know. Because the thing about it, co-op cup, right, Jose, is it's like it's one game.
Yep.
It's one game. And, it's one game.
And anything can happen.
And anything can happen. So who knows? So now we got the last spot. So part 2, right? Part 2, fifth spot. I mean, come on. That's part 2, right?
Now I'm gonna give it to my brother.
Oh, come on. Well, we all know who gets the 5th spot. All due respect to Silent Impact, but I think part 2 probably will get the 5th spot. But okay, so let's say there had to be a Chicago, Chicago 1A team, right?
Oh.
Let's say, because like in the movie Armageddon, they sent up 2 shuttles, right? The Freedom and the Independence, right? You remember that movie? Yes. Jerry Bruckheimer, Armageddon reference. They sent 2 shuttles.
Oh my god.
They sent 2 shuttles? Okay, so we already got 1 shuttle. Who's going up in the next shuttle? Who's going up in the other shuttle? Jose?
Oh my god. Oh. Let me breathe. Okay. And the other shuttle?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna make this list quick, but I want to shout out all these players because we wouldn't be Chicago without them, whether they're by location. I know some of these players are far and wide, but okay. So for the 5th, I'm sorry, that's the 2nd shuttle. I can't. Second shuttle. Okay. I would first say Frosty Joe. I got to give a shout out to his performance at Frosty. He was commentating multiple events and still, and I apologize, I forget what placing he got exactly, but he showed out. I know he's well past top 24. He fought hard to get there.
Not too shabby for someone who learned the game like 3 years ago or something.
Exactly. And he's come to Logan and he's always there. Keeps coming back for more, getting his licks in, his wins, his losses, of course, as all of us do. But got to give it up to him, especially like I said about that performance, and on top of his other responsibilities at the event and everything going on. Just kudos and shout outs to him, man. But I would say him for sure.
Okay, Forsey Joe.
My boy Yogurt Brain, another Ibuki, another Ibuki specialist, man. He's another player. He's just with the luxury of Fightcade and just he's grown so much. And this is the 2nd or 3rd Frosty Faustings. I had to play him, and it's come down like to the last game, last round, and it's like that Ibuki versus Ibuki is just like it's a blender, man. You just put it in there and just something's gonna come out. We don't know what. Got to give it up to him. Excellent showing. He really put in some work there. The event. Yogurt Brain. And let's see. Nipperman, Josh. I give it up to him. I know he was tittling like back and forth with like his Ryu, and then Urian. I know he's a Urian lover for sure. But I'd love to see him like, you know, tittle with the idea of playing with Ryu more. But I do love watching his Urian play.
So we have 2 more slots. What do we got here?
Next slot, I got to give to another guy who had a good Frosty performance, but I've known him for years,
Mm-hmm.
and I played with him when I started playing in the early days. He sold me one of my first arcade sticks. After I got the anniversary stick, he sold me a couple other ones actually, because he's still a collector of sorts to this day. But Antonio 3S, or as we sometimes refer to as Mexican 3S. Some people might remember him online, maybe even seen his clips he posts on YouTube. But that boy is good. He's really good, and I've seen him from back in the day, and I won't say back in the day. That's aging myself completely. Back when I first started playing the game, and how good he was, and like even to now, like he's still like just a dark horse. I feel like, and I don't want to forget about him. Definitely not, because he's a very strong player, very knowledgeable, very smart player, aggressive too. And before I even thought about Nipperman playing the Denjin Ryu, I thought about him, and I'd be like, well, you know, 2 Denjin Ryu is like, you know. But that's the thing about Antonio too. Like he could play a handful of characters, and I think he did in tournament at Frosty, mixing things up between like Urian. He played Yun, Ryu. I think he might have even played other characters. I didn't get to catch all his matches, but I know he was out there mixing things up, playing the matchup. I did ask him. I was like, "Who's gonna play?" He's like, "I'm gonna play the matchup." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of there." I was like, "All right, man, just have fun with it, get funky." And he's like, "This is what I'm gonna do." And he played pretty well. He played really well.
So we got Horsey Joe. We got Nipperman, Yogurt
hmm
Brain,
hmm
Antonio 3S,
hmm
and Silent Impact. So we got Makoto, we have Urian, we have Ibuki, we have Ryu, and we have Dudley. No, I like I like the character balance in that
hmm
team a lot, and you
I
know,
do.
and I know there are going to be obviously questions about players that you may have
Oh
not
yeah.
mentioned or left off. But the great thing about
And
Coop, right, and one of the great things about a scene like yours, part 2, is that, you know, again, so you have never attended Coop, right? You never participated in
it's
Coop
a
before.
dream, man.
So
One day.
so usually what happens is in Coop, you get divided into these pools, and usually they're
hmm
pools of 3, and you just and then you run round robin, and so, you know, if you know, basically whoever wins both their matches, they get to advance. If there's a tie, there's a they face off in a playoff or whatever. And so, like, you know, because Coop is by far the most, you know, important event on the Third Strike calendar, and I really hope, you know, Matsuda can bring Coop back offline in its original format.
hmm
And so, like, what you could do, right, is, you know, start forming those teams, right? Like, if you have like 15 players in your scene, right,
hmm
just have like for the entire year, just have like that team, and then at Logan or wherever you play, just run the pool all the time, right, as practice. It helps build team chemistry. Obviously, everyone gets reps. You know,
Oh yeah.
it kind of reminds me of that story of the 1992 Dream Team. Remember when they
Mm.
went up against the U.S. Select Team, the younger
Oh
players, and they got smoked.
yeah.
So there's
Just
like
demolished.
a sense of pride, right? So like you don't want to get, you know, you don't want to get smoked by, you know, NWO Wolfpack, right? You're NWO Hollywood. And then there's
hmm
then you can have a third shuttle. Sure, you can have a third shuttle. You can have as many shuttles as you want. Part 2, as
hmm
many as you have players. But I think that's kind of cool because, you know, if Coop is like the biggest event of the Third Strike calendar, it would be awesome if scenes kind of started developing like their own kind of 5-person teams. You know, like that team that you just mentioned, NWO Hollywood. You know,
hmm
you guys would team. all the time. Like there's going to be a 5v5 at the Jazzy Circuit finale in June. And so all of you could enter as that team, and then you would have NWO Wolfpack enter as their team. NWO, I don't know, the LWO, I don't know, or the the BWO, right?
The BW.
The BWO.
Yeah, no.
But the
I like
cool
where your
thing
head's
is,
at on
the
that
cool
one.
thing is, you could just kind of run it all the time at your local
Mm-hmm.
arcade. But I would watch the shit out of like a Logan stream where all of you just did round robins the entire night, like just the three 5-player teams, and you're all just running the Coop pool all night. I would watch the shit out of that stream. Like that would be an awesome stream.
It would be a show. It would definitely be a show. And I will say that Logan is in like the process of like getting their stream like more out there on Twitch. You can find them on Twitch.tv/ I think it's just Logan Arcade, one word. But they're trying to they definitely have been supportive, of course, of us being there, playing there. We want to run events. They have no problem helping us out, giving us what we need. But they want to get the stream out there more. So if it and when it becomes more of a thing, I'll definitely be blasting that. So if you see me tweeting some Logan Arcade Twitch stream out, just know that I'm probably there helping out if I can, or we're all like chipping in or doing something. But hopefully look forward to something like that soon. I hope I could put that out there and help them grow that a little bit more.
Definitely. So, Jose, tell me a little bit about your character selection. So, you are most known for rocking the Ibuki, but you do use Dudley, and so like sort of how did that like who did you like? Because I don't know if you mentioned who you started with as far as the character is concerned, but like
That's great.
yeah, so like how did that character selection process develop for you?
Okay, so when I first, and this is going back to the basement in high school on the Dreamcast, um, I first started playing and took a big liking to Alex. True story.
Okay.
I loved Alex. He's kind of slow, but he could move. You know what I mean?
The
Like
unofficial mascot of the Jazzy Circuit.
exactly. Yeah. Well, that too. Yeah, for sure. Um,
America.
but also like he was supposed to be like the new protagonist for the series, right? Or
Yes.
is,
He is.
So yeah, he is. He is. Um, so I was like, yeah, this is the guy, right? This is the guy. I mean, yeah, we got Ryu, we got Ken, cool, but we've been playing as them for years. This is the new guy, right? So I was like, I'm gonna be good with this guy. So I'm playing it on a pad. I played a lot of Alex. And then I remember even going back to when I met Steven at that GameStop anniversary collection when I told him, he's like, who do you play? I was like, Alex. And he thought I was joking. And he's like, you play Alex? Okay. He even admitted to me later, he's like, man, when you told me you played Alex, I didn't think you would be good at all. And I was like, I, but I proved him wrong there too. So, Alex, when I first started. And then when I started getting competitive, I immediately kind of drifted away from him as I felt like, all right, when I'm playing at this, I want to grow as a player. I got to play different types of characters that are capable of different things and put me in different situations, and I got to learn. So then it was a Ken. I leaned towards Ken because he has everything you need. Still does. Everything you could possibly need in a character. He's great. Damage. You guys know. I don't got to tell you guys. um, and then Dudley. I leaned towards Dudley because I saw like those juggles and what he could do against characters, and he's just like strong. I love doing ducking in the super. Still to this day, it's just very satisfying and confirming that he's just a monster. And then there was a time where like I kind of slowed down. I would say this is probably around like 2008, like 2009. I mean, at this point, I was traveling to events. I've been to like NEC, Final Round, Seasons Beatings back in Ohio with Fuji. Some of us remember those events. Awesome time. We'd pile in the car and drive to Ohio. Being in the Midwest, it was like a 5-hour drive. Not too bad. had a great time with those. Um, I was like having not character crisis, but I was just like I was in training mode with everybody because I wanted to learn characters that I didn't play. So I'd be like in training mode, practicing combos with characters I have no business playing. And one of them was like Ibuki, of course. I mean, yeah, I did like the Makoto stuff and just like seeing like for myself what this character could do. I'm like, am I gonna play this character? Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe a little bit, right? Um, and then I started getting into the Ibuki stuff, and I was just realizing how much like mobility. I didn't have a ton of Ibuki footage, um, or even like there was stuff available on the internet at that point, but I was just like trying to just like figure it out on my own. Um, there was one player I will shout out. I don't even know if he's. I don't think he's around anymore. But a real nice guy. By the guy by the name of Devil Jin. I apologize. I forget what region he's from. Somewhere on the East Coast. Back in the day, when I first saw his Ibuki, what it was capable of, I was like inspired like instantly. It was just like, wow. You know, the first Ibuki I saw, I'm like my own eyes in front of me. It was at a final round, I think 2007. And I was like, man, he's making this character look so much. She looks fun. She's doing all kinds of cool stuff. And then I hit the training mode like almost instantly. And then I was just like, this girl is nuts. She could do so much stuff. And, she takes a beating, fortunately. But, and I keep reiterating this, like, she made the game like fun for me. Not to say the other characters are boring. Everyone could feel how they want to about that. But Ibuki was just like, all right, this girl is fun. And she's flashy. And she could do some crazy stuff. And she could definitely, and she suited towards me. Like I just became like ingrained with learning how to be like a better Ibuki player, and I still struggle with that today, honestly, because I know like there's a lot of stuff I could do better. I know I'm nowhere near like the, but I'm not the best Ibuki player at any stretch, or even the best Ibuki player I think I can be. I'm still growing like all the time. Um, but um, I just it kind of took off. I started like playing her in local tournaments. Like you play this girl now. I think I went to Champaign, Humbag. Some of us may know. A lot of us may know actually. He was running some local tournaments, and we make the drive. I'd play Ibuki there. I think I lost one. I got second place to him. No, I didn't forget. And he beat me up there. But everyone was kind of like impressed. Like wow, you're good with this character. I'm like, I guess so. And then it took off, and I was just like, I came just like I said, just fascinated with just being better and learning everything possible or trying to, and I'm still doing it today.
What is it about the game? Like, could you kind of like maybe speak on that a little bit? Like, what is it about the game that just kind of draws you?
So, and I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it. It's fun, and I wish people would give it. I don't want to say give it more of a chance, but it's fun. And it's always been fun. It always will be fun to me. Even losing in the game, still fun. Still fun. I would lose 1,000 times in this game than win a million times in another fighting game because I'm just having too much fun in this game. One of the main things too is that it's so stylish, right? Like your play in this game, it's not always cut and dry. Like it's not always just like you got to do this to win
Mm,
and keep doing that and hope that it hits and
yeah,
sticks and then boom, you're gonna win. Boom. There's like no,
there's
there's
there's some
multiple
pizzazz in this
solutions.
game, right? There's some
Yes. Yes. There's definitely flash. That's the word I was kind of looking for. A lot of flash in the game. But also too is that like there's a lot of personality that comes out in someone's games and gameplay, and it sounds
mm,
cliche to say, but I feel like it's definitely given me an outlet to like just put it out there. And I've spoken on my previous experiences with fighting games and coming up in that is like I just the the game it's so much style and so much color. It's beautiful to look at. I love just and like I said, I don't do enough as not watch enough footage, but I do love watching like matches and being at the tournament, just watching other people play, and just how they thrive in those situations when there's 5 people behind you and you have to win. And like, I'm just wondering, like, what kind of pressure? What are they feeling? What are they, you know, and how is it translating to what's on the screen, right? And some people are, I don't want to say buckling under that pressure, and some people are just keeping it cool, like just lost the first games, like, you know. And I feel like we see a lot of that in Third Strike, where players are still, like I said, losing or not playing as well or just getting beat up by something, but they're still thriving and they're still like, they're still trying, right? And they're still going to put it out there, and this is what I got, here it is, and I hope it translates to the screen. I feel like the game is always giving me that opportunity to do it, even when I wasn't the best player. And even now, being a better player, still not the best, that's for sure. um, Still gives me those chances to do it. Because when people see like that Ibuki on the screen, like people pay attention, you know? People like watch. They want to see what she's gonna do. Like they've seen it before, might not have not. I had some people say they never seen a cross up kunai, and I I did one on stream, I believe, and I got messages like, "What was that cross up kunai?" Like, whoa, that's so sick. You know, I got a couple text messages about that, and I'm just like, I'm kind of putting on a show, but again, you're seeing that style on the screen. Like that's what I love about it. Like those moments, those micro like instances where you're just like, you know, I'm a Buki and I'm just standing there and I'm just like, oh, what are you gonna do? Because I'm gonna do something. What are we gonna do? Like this game gives me that opportunity to do that.
You know, the Chicago scene uh, had a huge part in to play in the formation of Jazzy. Um, you know, if you remember part two, we first met, I think, in I forgot already. I think it may have been in January of 2018. I was
I think
fortunate
so.
enough to find myself in Chicago. It was at a time when Bathtub Leviathan and Will English and I believe Arshad were running a tournament series. Arch Villain, we're running a tournament series called No Drinks on the Astro
Yeah,
Cities,
shows. Yeah, because oh man,
and
that was
yeah, and it just so happened I was in Chicago during one of those events, and Onagai from Michigan, who I had only known online, was able to come down with his brother to Chicago, and we all just kind of hung out and met one another. And you know, I kind of mentioned that because you know one of the things when I look back on like our generation, sort of that arcade generation, is like the feeling of walking into somewhere like like you were saying earlier in the podcast, like a complete stranger. You don't know anyone in the room. You don't know anyone there. And you're going in there to compete against a complete stranger, someone you may have never seen before, or maybe you have seen before, but maybe you were too intimidated, or you felt like you didn't want to challenge them. Maybe you didn't have enough money, and so forth and so on. Whatever it is, but just that experience of going in somewhere and not knowing anyone, um, and then at the end of the day, you know, forming those relationships again. You know, not everyone has to be best friends, but just that experience, right? That you know, I hadn't had that in a really long time, and you guys gave it to me, and you guys played a huge part in me sort of deciding ultimately, like, wow, you know, the 20th anniversary of Third Strike is coming up, and like, it just kind of sucks that like no one is really like talking about it. Like, it would be cool to do something. And so, you know, that kind of is how it started. But if it wasn't for my trip to Chicago, if it wasn't for, you know, the hospitality and just the games, really, right? Just showing me what
mhm.
all y'all had. how passionate you were about the game, whether it was a veteran, like yourself, or at the time a new player like Forsy Joe. Like he was barely, again, not to put him on blast, but like he was having trouble doing, quarter circles
Oh yeah.
when I first went to Chicago, and now he almost never misses the 100%.
Yeah. He's got that thing locked in.
So
Yeah.
so just like being able to go there, the fact that you welcomed me in your place, and not only did I go to Logan, but surprise, surprise, my flight was delayed because of weather. And so I just happened to be in Chicago an extra day. And so I got to go to Ignite. I still have the Ignite keychain, the little keychain they give to those loyalty members. I still have it on
tag,
I still have it on my keychain. And I went there and y'all invited me there, and we played Third Strike and ST on the PVMs, and that was a great time. And so just kind of that experience, right? That experience that I guess is unique to our generation. That not many people are going to have an opportunity to do that because obviously the main social vehicle is online now, right? But just that feeling, right, Jose, like you were describing earlier, just going into somewhere, not knowing anyone, competing, and just all the stuff that comes with that, and that's what y'all gave me, and if it wasn't for that, maybe I wouldn't have done Jazzy, because it kind of reminded me, okay, that's why the game is special. So thank you, Jose. Thank you to the Chicago scene, and thank you to continuing playing this game, because it's I know it's cliche, but it's a great game.
It is. It is, man. That's I had no idea, man. But it goes without saying, man. You're always welcome here, anytime.
I mean, it might be a little too cold out there for me. It might be a little too cold out there. It gets pretty rough.
Yeah, I got a different type of jacket. Like I tell
Yeah.
people, you got to get a different type of jacket to come here. It's true.
It's rough. It's rough. So, real quickly, just wanted to talk a little bit about your room, in case anyone listening to the podcast was waiting. So
we can go through it.
We're just gonna kind of go through it real quickly. So clearly, you are a big horror fan. You got the Hellraiser T-shirt. You got the other bobbleheads. I was a big horror fan too. Probably watched a whole bunch of movies as a kid that I probably had no business watching. My parents were a little less than vigilant when it came to our visits to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. Just kind of, hey, can I get this? Yeah, sure. Not really looking at the cover. That's how that's how an 8-year-old got a copy of The Howling 3 or something, or
oh my God.
or something like that.
That movie is still holy.
Something ridiculous like that. But yeah, so clearly you're a big horror fan. So what's up with that?
So my story is what you said, kind of like the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
My mom, she kind of kept us away from that stuff. Like she didn't want us to watch scary stuff. I mean, I did have night terrors as a kid and had like recurring nightmares. So I think that's one of the reasons why. But she didn't want us to watch scary stuff. She's like, why would you want to be scared? You don't need that feeling, whatever. And when I got older and the internet became a thing, I just became more curious. And then it just kind of like, I don't want to say spiraled, but it just grew. Like my natural like curiosity for like scary horror, it just like exploded. Because no one was around to tell me no. Nobody.
How is that
like,
related to Third Strike, dog? Do you think it's somehow related to Third Strike, Jose? Because like Third Strike's one of those games where it's like there's always this sort of suspense, right?
Oh,
like the match could turn any moment. Like something really sick could happen, and so like I wonder if like, because I have met Third Strike players who are also big fans of horror. And so I don't know if it's that sort of associated with that adrenaline rush that we get, when we play.
I would say it's probably closely it's probably related somehow, Yeah, I mean I kind of like when I got more into horror stuff, I like the feeling of being scared. Like, the just like what's gonna happen, and even like now going into tournaments, I still get nerves, and like not scared. That's definitely not the word for it. Just tournament nerves, and I'm like, I know this feeling. I know I'm all too acquainted with this, like, so this is nothing new. Once I get in the venue and get there, I'm like, I'm ready to work. Let's
Mhm.
do it. Same thing when a movie comes on. I'm like, all right, I'm in this. I'm watching it. I know a lot of people feel indifferent about horror. I met some
Mhm.
people like, I can't do it. I won't. I can't stand the sight of blood. And I just became curious more than anything. So, um, but also with that too, I feel like the horror community, and I won't speak on behalf of all of them. I feel like similar to Third Strike, like it's a niche community and almost a niche genre that people still don't like fully gravitate to all the time. Like people see like a new horror movie coming out and they're just like they just know they're not going to watch it. Like scary, I don't need that. I need to see something funny, something, you know, I need to see a Disney movie, I need to see someone's parents die, and I need a happy ending. Like, well, life isn't like that, not always at least. I don't mean to be dark, but
Mhm.
it's not. I mean, you take the good with the bad, but Um, I think like I said, the horror community in Third Strike, it's just niche, or it has become niche more so than anything.
Mhm.
And then when I meet people who like see like a shirt or see me wearing a shirt and like, oh, Hellraiser, like that's great, and Pinhead, one of my favorites, obviously. Um, it's again, it just I reiterate back to when I was a kid and I first saw him, and my mom, I was like, the imagery was just scary. My mom said, "There's no way you're watching that movie." I'm kind of glad she did, because Lord knows what would have happened if I saw it as a kid. When I was an adult, I could appreciate it a lot more for sure. Um, and now it's just like my partner and I. She's also into horror. She's all about it. She's got horror tattoos like all over her body too. Um, and we just love the genre. And repeat it again, like that's why I think like Third Strike players, similar to the horror genre, just niche, man. It's different. Not everybody likes it. Not everyone's gonna like it, but we like it. And we're gonna continue to support it, and I hope that support just continues to grow.
Mhm.
And
Mhm. Mhm.
that's kind of my take on it, honestly.
Yeah. So another thing I noticed in your room, Jose, we
Oop,
got the sneakers.
if you see these right here, do you
Uh,
see these?
yeah, yeah.
Those are just like off-white.
Okay.
Rest in peace to Virgil.
Oh,
Off-white. If those are familiar with the designer, Virgil Abloh passed away last year.
okay.
But I love those sneakers. I got lucky and hit on them. These down here are De La Soul highs. Big into SBs, Nike SB Dunks, and I love hip hop. As you can see, the Doom poster back there. Um,
Yeah, we didn't really talk
those are.
about music in Third Strike, man.
Oh, we didn't. No, I
But
mean
I guess we gotta
I
save that for like another podcast or maybe your own
I'm
podcast, part two,
I'm
maybe.
game, man. It's a thought, and you kind of put that in my ear a little bit, and I'm thinking about it now more so than anything. But yeah, uh, love all kinds of music. But yeah, hip hop was one of my earliest loves. Love De La Soul. Those are De La Soul highs. One of my favorite sneakers. I do wear them. I'm not one of those people that just like puts it on display. Those happen to be on display. I just cleaned them, so
Yeah.
they're just hanging out there. So, um, and oh my God, if you go through my room, it's just Third Strike. Told you I love baseball. There's an Ibuki deck back here. Let me see if I can get out the way a little
I
bit.
see your
Ugh.
boards there. I see your boards.
Yeah, Ibuki. This is a Nissan GTR. I love import cars. I don't have a GTR, so don't ask. One day. Love the Cubs. Of course, like I said, I love baseball. Third Strike poster. A lot of people have this one. My Frosty medals are up here, hanging from the ceiling. Thought it was a good place for them. Misfits stuff here. Oh my God, and then tons of horror stuff. I mean, if you ask me about something specifically, I could go on about it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's been real, Jose.
Definitely, man.
Thank you
Yep.
so much for coming on the podcast. But most of all, just thank you for playing Third Strike and
Any
continuing to just love this game and continuing to compete. Really appreciate it. And so, part two. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we get out of here on this episode of the Mutant XPerience podcast?
Oh man, I'll be here all day trying to give out shout outs, but I could be long winded if I haven't expressed that enough. But first and foremost, big shout outs to like my family, of course. Again, the support is unreal. For a game that, like I said, and I explained what it gives to me. None of that is like really monetary. I'm not trying to get famous playing this game, that's for sure. I joked about that earlier. Um, it's fun, and thank you for thanking me to for playing the game, because uh, I don't ask for anything, but it gives me so much, like I said. So, and I'm glad I just have a family, including my brother, that supports that. Um, Chicago community, definitely. I mean, we got a lot of strong players and people just hungry. Some people, I don't want to forget anybody, of course. Quinn, Hologram, Mike Ross, everyone in between. I apologize if I forget your name. I'll see you guys soon, real soon. Um, it's in these times, it's hard to get together and do these events. But definitely thank you to the Jazzy Circuit, the board, everyone who comes out to TO these events. Being back at Frosty was just like being home again. I miss that feeling so much.
Well, thank you so much, Jose, again for coming on, and again, thank you to players like Part2 and everyone else around the world that continues to play Third Strike and sing its praises. So again, Jose, you are welcome back anytime. It was definitely great talking to you, and hopefully we will see more of you and your Ibuki at future Jazzy events.
Oh, you will.
All
Thank you.
right. All right. Take care, everyone. See you next time.